Welcome to Beyond the Likes, the realities of influencer campaigns. I'm Madeline Larson, Associate Director of Education Initiatives at the Natural History Museum of Utah. I have the privilege of working with a talented team of experts to develop innovative programs and effective projects that drive learning. With over 30 years in the education field and more than 20 in museum leadership, my focus is on creating learning environments that spark curiosity and enhance critical thinking skills.
And I'm Barry Joseph, and it's great to be back with you today here at Museum Next. I'm based in New York City. I have 25 plus years experience in digital engagement in the nonprofit sector, innovating solutions for learning in a digital age. I run my own consultancy and have had the privilege of working with Madeline for the past 4 years. Also, I recently founded a museum, the Brooklyn Seltzer Museum.
Thanks, Barry. So, the program at the heart of our influencer campaign work is Research Quest, which is a free digital catalog of online scientist led investigations that are created for middle school educators and their students. Through dynamic videos and interactive digital resources, students dive into real world research questions mirroring the work of our own scientists. With access to our digitized collections and guided supports, learners build critical thinking and data literacy skills. And we have a big goal. We're working to reach 1 million users. And to help us get there, we've teamed up with social media influencers to spread the word. So, why influencers? Well, traditional outreach has been great for Research Quest, but to reach new audiences and to hit our ambitious user goals, we needed a fresh approach. Partnering with an influencer focused agency allowed us to level up in a big way. They found influencers and handled the relationships. They took on content development and managing influencer work streams, while our job was to provide the best seed content possible: videos, visuals, behind the scenes stories that influencers could share to showcase Research Quest in a way that felt natural for their audiences. So here's an example of one from Instagram.
Tired of lesson planning? Not sure what you're gonna do until Christmas? Let alone next year. Okay, same. But I've got a resource that you're gonna absolutely love, Research Quest with free lesson plans. Check this out. All you've got to do is head to researchquest.org, create a free account, and then you have access to these lesson plans where you can do these science investigations with your students. They come with teacher resources, they include rubrics, and they also have support materials for the teacher. So all you got to do is head to the website, create your free account, and boom, you don't have to lesson plan. Go do it. What are you waiting for?
Okay, so that seems great, right? But there were some parts that made this tricky. The fact that we didn't have direct contact with the influencers ourselves made for some unnecessary clunkiness in communications. But that was in exchange for expertise in how to mobilize and manage influencers, which we didn't have. Another challenge, we had to rely on the agency's data, impressions, likes, and clicks to gauge our campaign success. But we wanted more than just surface level numbers. We needed deeper insights to truly understand the impact and to drive meaningful engagement with Research Quest.
So, what did we do next? We wanted to understand what success actually looked like, how to measure that success, and how to report on it in a way that was both meaningful and actionable. Before diving into the influencer campaigns, we realized that our reporting had been fairly basic, focused on whether we were moving the needle on critical thinking, how many users were logging in, and just some light insights from Google Analytics. But we knew we had to go deeper. We needed a new data-driven strategy to ensure our efforts were aligned on our mission, strategic plan, and the needs of our audience. As a first step, we aligned our museum's 3 program goals, which you can see on the left, with specific objectives for Research Quest. Then we set up a robust system to track progress using a rich set of KPIs, metrics, and benchmarks. The idea wasn't to measure everything, but to focus on what truly mattered: user engagement, account creation, usage, and retention rates. This helped us make sure we were measuring what we actually needed, not just what was easy to track. We identified where and how we could collect the data we needed, and then built a new data collection engine. This took some time, but with the engine in place, we were able to turn our attention to developing a reporting dashboard that allowed us to track our data in real time, including with a dynamic scorecard, which mapped data to our success metrics, and visualizations that allowed us to drill down into our work to better understand how educators are using these resources. All of this has helped us effectively manage our user funnel and support data-driven decisions in real time. With these tools, we can strategically allocate our limiting marketing dollars, whether on social media or other channels, to maximize our return on investment. As a result, we've saved thousands of dollars while driving hundreds of new account signups.
Thanks, Barry. Once that was in place, we could bring the two together, the external influencer campaign with our internal analytics engine. Before we combined them, we had a traditional influencer campaign. New leads clicked a campaign on Instagram or Facebook or a podcast show notes, which led them to our website. The marketing firm could report to us the number of impressions, likes, and clicks, but they couldn't tell us if people who clicked actually made it to our site or what they did once they got there. Once we connected their data with our own, we could keep going. Following a user funnel, we could see how many folks landed on our site, how many created accounts, and how many engaged their students with ResearchQuest. And once we had these insights, now for the first time, we could measure our outreach and marketing activities towards our primary goal of increasing the number of ResearchQuest users. We could see direct connections between specific campaigns and the students that ultimately used ResearchQuest. But before we share the tools we developed for tracking our efforts, we want to spend just a moment highlighting what allowed us to track specific users in the first place, UTMs.
As many of you know, UTMs, or tracking codes, are key to helping us track where visitors are coming from and how they enter our user funnel. Essentially, UTMs allow us to see which marketing campaigns are driving traffic and, importantly, future users to our site. To make sure we could track this data effectively, we created a simple UTM builder tool, which you can see below, and made it a new habit to use it every time we shared a link with influencers and other marketing efforts. Think of UTMs as digital thumbprints attached to each touch point, allowing us to trace activity across various channels and to connect the dots that link ResearchQuest users to the campaign that brought them to us. Once the UTMs were in place, we were able to monitor over days, months, and sometimes even years later which campaigns were bringing the most productive leads to our site. Here you can see first visitors to the site, and then how many teachers signed up and how many then later brought in their students. To expand what we can learn from these connections, we created another data visualization tool that added ROI reporting so we could see how much we were spending per new teacher and per new student. So here you'll see early in our campaign, based on the level of activity and campaign costs, we can see the cost per acquisition. The tool then could tell us that cost per activation, how much for each teacher who used ResearchQuest, and based on the number of their students, how much we paid per student. Eventually, we'll be able to do more analysis on the lifetime value of these new users. But of course, looking at this slide, looking at the students, this is the point. How do we use influencer campaigns to reach 1 million students? Now we had in place the tools to help us answer this question and to figure out which campaigns we should be supporting to help us reach our goals. So what did we learn once this was in place? How did we learn information that would let us take action? Well, let's take a look at a winter campaign that we built. It was the end of 2021 and went into the beginning of 2022. This campaign had 2 social media influencers promoting ResearchQuest, each with slightly different start, overlap, and end times. Ty, you can see with the light green line, was posting in November, and the orange line represents an old campaign by an influencer named Becca. You'll see Ty overtake Becca's old campaign after we launched Ty's holiday campaign. Not a surprise there. You can also see this led to an increase in the number of clicks on Ty's posts. Then in January, we also launched a new campaign with Becca. That's the black line you see starting there. Now, in an update call in late January, our ad agency advised us to put more resources towards boosting Ty's posts. which was based on a comparison they made of the most recent performance data they had access to. They were strongly recommending that we put more revenue into boosting Ty's posts, as the level of activity he generated was higher than Becca's. You can see green thumbs up versus red thumb down. But because our live data with UTMs allowed us to connect their activity with our backend data, we can see how the activity was impacting site visits and account signups. In fact, we can see that Becca's posts were driving more account signups at a significantly lower cost per account activation, one of our key metrics, green thumbs up versus red thumb down. In other words, we were spending a lot of money for Ty to get more views and clicks, but his activity was not yielding, in volume or cost, a better return than Becca. We elected to boost her posts and increase signups from her UTMs, which not only included to give us more payoff on the back end, but you can see she also started driving more activity from her posts as well.
So, how can our work help you achieve more meaningful results via influencer campaigns? Go beyond the likes to drive true engagement. Well, let's look at some of our lessons learned. First, start small. Influencer campaigns are complex. Get it right before you scale. Test your tools, especially UTMs and boosting settings, to make sure they're functioning as intended before scaling up. Sadly, we learned these lessons the hard way. Some campaigns were launched without the provided UTMs, some with the UTMs that belong to other influencers, and others were posted without proper settings, which prevented us from resharing and boosting the posts to reach a larger audience. Lesson 2, prioritize metrics that matter. Likes are nice, but conversions are what count. Track what actually leads people to engaging meaningfully with your content. And for us, what was meaningful was generating account signups and ultimately usage of our Research Quest investigations. Lesson 3, regular communication. Sadly, we learned this lesson the hard way too. Working with influencers indirectly means that you rely on total coordination from your marketing partner. We hired these companies because they had the expertise in managing influencer campaigns. We now know we need to work very closely with our account managers to understand their processes, ensure they're doing all the things required for a successful campaign, and verify that the critical bits are getting done. You need to be an active participant in this work, and it's important to find someone you can trust. Which brings us to lesson number 4, invest in data infrastructure. Trust is important, but it's even more important to, as they say, trust but verify. And to verify, you need data on the back end to confirm campaigns are operating as intended. So, clear expectations, metrics, and open communication are key, but for a full feedback loop, you also need access to data. Our reporting tools allowed us to make smart, real-time decisions, which saved us, as Barry said, thousands of dollars while achieving our campaign goals.
To wrap up, the key takeaway is simple. Influencer campaigns are about more than just likes and clicks. It's about understanding their real impact on engagement, account signups, and ultimately student learning. By connecting influencer data with back-end analytics, we've been able to make smarter decisions, save resources, and see real results.
Exactly. With the right tools like UTMs and real-time metrics, you can optimize your efforts and measure what truly matters. And most importantly, make data-driven choices that align with your goals. And with that, we're really excited to dive into questions.